G'day, and welcome to Queensland Farmer. Well, I've moving the cattle this morning. You can see them over my left shoulder here. They went through the gates and we did a count and there just wasn't enough around. So went looking and unfortunately we found one laying down here and it looks like it was unwell. Tried to get it up and it was behaving like it had something broken or something pulled, perhaps its leg or its hip. But anyway, done a bit of an investigation and it turns out that it looks like it's got what they call 3-day, which is a viral infection that cattle get after good rain and good weather. So it looks like this one's got it. The problem for us is that we've got dingoes around here at the moment. Unfortunately, there's lots of dingoes. And what I'm really worried about is the dingoes will come and take this one while it can't defend itself. So the cattle have moved to another paddock and we brought down some hay just to basically, it's old hay that we actually use for erosion control, but I put that up against her to keep her upright, but it looks like she's going to stay upright on her own now. She's moved away from it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a safety fence around her. Some stuff I bought at a garage sale actually. So this meshing hopefully will go around her. We'll tie it up nice and tight to make sure nothing can get into her. And I've got some medicine for her and some lucerne, and we'll get her some water as well. And I've also got some shade cloth to put her over the top to make sure that give her every chance to try and make her survive or help her survive. The alternative was that we could pick her up and take her back to the house with it. And the way we would do that is we'd use the tractor, put a sling under her, but that's pretty hard on the animals. And you can often do some damage with them if you haven't used the sling correctly or if you haven't got a sling. In our case, we don't actually have a proper sling. So, yeah, it could be a bit of a problem. So I'm just hoping that we don't lose this one. She's a lovely, lovely animal and very calm normally. But I think she's just freaking out a bit because she's just feeling a bit down. She's got a lot of muscle aches and pain. And this is something that often, if the animal's left untreated but not exposed to the elements, including dingoes and other wild dogs, they'll be okay. But we'll just see how this goes. So I've got some lucerne there for her as well, so that'll be a bit of a treat. Anyway, we'll see how we go setting this fence up. So it's slowly coming together. I've actually put these in upside down on purpose, because the top section down here is lower to the ground. My rationale there is just to make it a bit harder for any dogs to dig underneath. If it was a bit high, it would sit quite a bit higher. They wouldn't have to dig so much. So anyway, there's not a lot of room in there, but there doesn't need to be. They're not going to move much for the next couple of days. But I'll be checking on this animal quite often. And given it's a fair way from the house, I'll also fly the drone up and have a look, make sure that everything's okay. The cattle are naturally curious. I can see I'm over here doing something and they're wondering what all the fuss is about. They've just had a feed in the other paddock and you can see some of them are laying down. They've probably eaten their share for now. Anyway, I'll keep on to this and we'll get this sorted out for this heifer. I may also pull that, I'll just see what she does. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave that bale there or not, but I probably will, even though it's a little bit congested in there. It at least means that she's got something to lean on. The last thing you want them to do is to lay down because they can aspirate, get fluid in their lungs and then die from that. So anyway, happy days. So this is the finished item. As I was saying, there's not a lot of room in there, but she doesn't need a lot of room. I just put a biscuit of lucerne in there, and as you can see, she's having a bit of a feed, which is really good to see. These animals are expensive, but obviously you don't want to see them die. And financial implications for that, but there's also implications for the animals. Oh, look at this. This is wonderful to see. Just a few hours ago, I thought this animal was definitely going to die, but now I've got some hope, which is good. which is very good. Anyway, I've got some water. Got a bucket here. I've got a fair bit of water in this area, so I'll get some more water to her. And let's see how I can jerry rig up some cover to make sure that she's all right. It's a steaming hot day today in my part of the world. And I can see it's also pretty warm in Sydney. So it must be warm all around, hey? Anyway, it's a hot day to be doing this, but it would be worth sitting there not having any shade. So we'll make her stay as pleasant as possible. The other thing I should probably note is when we bought this sort of this temporary fencing, the reason I decided to buy it is the previous owners had cut a hole in it, as you can sort of see over here, and it's got some sort of padlocks or locks on the other side, and that allows us to open that and then go in and give her water or other medication or whatever we might need. So pretty good idea, that. Really good idea. So they were moving off the land and they were happy to sell it to us. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Yes, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, I'll get some water, I'll get some shade, and I'll check in a little while. Okay, so that's what it looks like. She's just had a drink of water. So obviously that container isn't going to be big enough, so I might head back to the house, get a different sort of container or some way to transport water more than what I've got currently. And the sail's up, and that's going to provide some shelter for it. I haven't pulled it tight because it offered more of a shade for her when it was loose like that, just based on where the sun was at the time. So hopefully that'll stay like that for the rest of the day. I know it does look cramped in there, but they are really not going to move very far when they're crook. So there's no requirement to have a large area like this. Ultimately, we're just trying to keep her safe from wild animals, which unfortunately there are plenty of around here at the moment. So I know they've got their place in the environment, but it's never nice to see an animal get chewed up because it's unwell. I'm sure you understand what I mean by that. Anyway, we'll leave her in peace for now, and I'll certainly be checking in several times today, and I'll keep that water topped up. By the time the video's done, I'll let you know how it's all gone. It's a couple of hours later, and I've come up, I've topped up the water. I'm filling from a local dam, so I've just brought a couple of buckets down and I'll fill it, and I'll try and keep this going all day. I've also brought down a little bit more lucerne, and she had a bit of a nibble of that just a few minutes ago. And as before, these cattle are pretty inquisitive. They're wondering what's going on. It's possible they can smell the lucerne. Anyway, she's still in the shade, which is excellent. And we'll come back again soon. We're here the next day, and you can see that we've moved this bale of hay out. It was just getting in the way. We also brought in a bit of timber just to try and cover up the holes underneath the cage. We tied those in how we could with some rope that we had, just to see if we can make sure that nothing can easily dig into her. And as it was, as we pulled up here, the dogs were hanging around, so they weren't close enough to see if they were wild dogs or dingoes. But so either way, we'll need to hang around today to make sure they don't have a chew on her. She's in much better shape today. She's happy to eat lucerne that we give her straight away and drink. So we've got some more medicine to give her today, and hopefully it should be on her feet either later on today or tomorrow morning. But we just need to look after her until then. No, I'm not in the doghouse. I'm sitting here with the heifer and in a sense hand feeding her some of this good feed. She's slowly eating it. She obviously is still a bit unwell and sort of has symptoms of a flu. You can see her nose is a bit sort of snotty. It's less knotty now than it has been, so we're hoping this is the end of the 3 days. You'll see that we've upgraded the top. It's now got some shade cloth on it. Certainly brought the temperature down when that went up over the top. So trying to make the environment as hospitable as possible, given that she can't really move around. And we're hoping to avoid lifting her up with the sling and the tractor, as that can be a bit dangerous. It could actually do some damage to her, so that's our last resort. If that was the case, we'd relocate her back to almost the house yard, so that would reduce any chance that foxes would come, or dingoes or wild dogs would come and have a go. So anyway, as I said, I'll keep you informed of how this progresses. Well, it's day 4 and she's not getting up, so we've made the decision to move her closer to the home so she can have permanent shelter and we can keep an eye on her a lot closer than all the way down the end of our block. Well, as you can see, we've had to move her after 4 days. She didn't get any better. In fact, this morning she looked worse. She looked like she was getting a bit bloaty, which is, a condition associated with her not getting up and not digesting that food properly. So we didn't really have a proper sling, but we used what we had to lift her up as gently as possible and put her in the trailer. You would have seen that was a bit of fun. Didn't hurt her at all. She was fine. She in fact looked like she enjoyed the trip in the back of the trailer behind the ATV. So what we've done now is we've put her inside a shed, a machinery shed that we've got. This is actually where one of our trailers normally is, but we'll pull it out for now and we'll keep her out of the weather. There's no rain that should really get to her. It's a nice flat area and it's quite close to the house, so we'll hear if any of the dogs are hanging around. So all we need to do now is essentially just rebuild that frame around her to keep her safe from any wild dogs, dingoes, anything else that might want to have a chew on her until she gets better. We've given her another feed of lucerne and we gave her just a little bit of molasses just to make that a little bit more enjoyable. We'll get her some water shortly, get this around her, and given she's only maybe a couple of 100 metres from the house, it's nice and easy to check in on her a little bit more regularly than way down the back where we were going 5 or 6 times a day. So anyway, I had planned to do a leaky weir today and yesterday. However, this is obviously a priority. We can't have them injured and we can't have them eaten by animals, and we need to do what we can do to see if they can, pull through. Anyway, we'll check in. Hopefully this is only going to be the case for the next couple of days and she'll get better. They do call it 3-day, if you want to check that out on Google to see what 3-day is, but sometimes it's 4 days and sometimes it's even more than 4 days. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. And I should mention that you might see that we've left the straps on her. The reason for that is if she moves over to her side and lays down, there's a real possibility that she can get fluid on the lungs, and that is terminal for them. So we've left that there so I can bring the tractor in when I need to, if I need to, lift her up and get her sitting up nice and proud again. It's pretty comfortable. That's typically how they sit when they're out in the paddock, when they're chewing their cud, when they're sort of regurgitating that food that they've eaten through that ruminant stomach, and they're quite comfortable sitting like that. We've put a bit of old straw around her as well, so whilst there's a little bit of dirt around, it's probably not that uncomfortable. Anyway, we'll check in again soon. Okay, so this is how it turned out. We've obviously got the food here, we've got the water over here, so hopefully she should be able to reach those and feed when she needs to and water when she needs to. We'll just check on this and make sure that she is actually taking the feed and water when we expect. We'll just keep an eye on this and we'll just make sure that the food is going down, the water's going down. That'll tell us what's going on. Along the back here we've used some typical cattle fencing panels, and they've got a gap in them so a dog could get through those. So I've repurposed some old school fencing I had sitting in a shed, so that sort of made it quite difficult for anything to get through. And over here is an old gate I had, so hopefully this will be enough. As I said, this place is pretty close to where our house is, so if dogs are around, Sam, our wonder dog, will no doubt bark and let us know that something's going on, and her barks will probably be enough to scare anything away, but if not, I'll deal with that. Okay, so we'll check in again soon.
Today is day 22, and look at this. Can you believe it? After 18 days she stood up, unsteady at first, but she's been getting up every day since then, so we're really happy about that. You can see there's a few sores on her legs, which are sort of pressure injuries. That's because despite it being on a nice bed of straw or hay here, it does happen where you just stay still for a while. It's a little bit like pressure injuries that a human would get when they're in bed for a long time without being turned. So this was a real community effort to get this animal up and going. We had to go away, which had been pre-planned. So we had a friend of ours, Kim, come around and look after this heifer. And then Barb came around and David, our vet, came around, and it was quite the effort to get this one up. And we shouldn't, of course, forget Brian, who you would have seen in some of that footage. He was the gentleman that was helping us unceremoniously lift her out of that danger area down near where the dingoes live. But look, it's a pretty good outcome. It's actually quite surprising. I've not heard of an animal with 3-day down for so long and then get up and walk, so we're pretty happy. So the plan from now is that we'll get her out of this cage. We've we're setting up some electric fences here just to guide her from where she is now up to some stables that we've got that typically are used for horses, but they'll work for cattle as well. There's water in there, there's shelter, and there's plenty of grass as well. So who would have thought? So look, it's been a busy couple of weeks to get this, or a bit more than a couple of weeks to get this sorted. It's been good weeks and bad weeks, I guess. 2 days ago we found a dead steer out in the paddock. So Farming's a bit like one step forward, two steps back. But I guess in this case, at least we didn't lose two animals. We only really lost one, so I guess we'd call that a win. Maybe not. Anyway, pretty good news story, really. So I've got some other things coming up soon. I've just had a new machine delivered to the farm, and I'll be doing some videos on that, which will help us really tidy up some areas around here and do some more of that regen farming that we talk about. We've had an enormous amount of rain in this area and other areas, and I'll look out. Of course, Sam and this heifer want to have a bit of a chat, as they do. So anyway, back to the rain. So the rain we've had, I think we've had 250, 260 mils over the last week, which has made conditions pretty hard to get around. It's great to see so much rain come around when we're in summer, and it means obviously there's going to be lots of grass growing, which is good for the cattle, good for the land, and it keeps it hydrated. But there was so much in such a short time that it made it quite difficult to get around. When I had to get that animal that we lost out of the paddock so I could dispose of it, it was quite the challenge to get that animal from where it was up on a hill through a low lying area to get them up here where the tractor is, and then get it up on a trailer and off to the tip. So anyway, it was a challenge, but we got there. And of course, just to top it off, I ended up with a summer cold. So anyway, these things happen.
We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun, as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. So loud as the hours pass, we're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. The moonlight, summer sky, it was the best we ever had. And we'll stay on forever. We'll never have regret.
Well, as you can see, that means that she's going to be very tame. That went pretty easily this morning. I expected it was going to be a little bit more difficult than that, but it's a good outcome. So she can stay here now until she's right to go back in with the other animals. We will still check on her daily, in fact multiple times a day. There's plenty of water here, there's shelter, and there's enough grass around, and when she's up to it, we'll expand that electric fence to a larger area of this paddock so she can get access to green feed as well. And just to make her stay even more comfortable is we'll bring in some bedding inside those stables. So once we've got that bedding in the stables here, we'll have a cow in the manger for Christmas. There you go.
Anyway, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to putting out some more videos very soon.